But I'm also glad that Zencaster stepped the shit up out of their game from when we started, because I basically automate it.
Yeah,
like if everything
rules.
sounds good at the beginning and it still sounds good at the end, then I just cut where it's supposed to cut and just hope for the best.
God bless them.
Welcome to RPG Book Club Movie Nights, the podcast where we play, well, we don't play anything, where we watch a movie related to a video game we have recently played and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
I'm Maddy Grace Webbin, but speak for yourself, Sam. The whole time I was watching this movie, I had a controller in my hand and I was hitting the buttons, and I was like, I'm playing it. I'm playing it.
Yeah.
Look at me. Yeah, I did it.
Yeah, it's totally interactive.
Yeah, it's so funny. So this movie is great, and it's based on on a book, not a manga. Matt will come and kill me. But it's based on a book, and the book gets a lot of mileage out of riffing on JRPG tropes, which is hilarious because then they made a JRPG not about the movie, the book, but about a side story related to it. It's like the plot, as you can tell, is still go get the 5 MacGuffins and go on adventures with your party of characters.
Is the movie actually the same story as the book? So the book is about Wataru?
Yes.
Okay. And the movie came out before the game?
I think the movie, the game, and the DS game all came out around the same time, and then later there was a PS2 game based on the movie.
How odd. Because, you could just make the actual story into a game. It would work perfectly.
Yeah.
Going the new Traveler route was strange. Maybe they were just like, hey, if people have already read the book and watched the movie, they might want a different story, which makes sense. And I mean, I loved what they did with it. It was cool, but that is very, very funny. But yeah, the whole time I was wondering, I was like, wait, what was the chronology of the releases? So
it's super weird that the movie, this story is basically a JRPG, and instead we get a action platformer. This is the video game adaptation of this story. Which, to be fair, action platformers are pretty much JRPGs.
Yeah.
But let's not talk about the movie just yet, and instead talk about our weeks. How was your week, guys?
I'm struggling to remember things that happened.
Well, I can share a few. So last week I went and got a TV, as I recall, as I mentioned to y'all. This time around, I just got done with a trip to go get a PS3. So,
nice.
So that's fun. I had a little bit of a problem that I'm not going to share online because it's embarrassing. But I'll have to talk with Sam about that later, involving getting the PS3 being a little bit of a problem. But it's fine. I guess technically I haven't plugged it in to test that it actually works. But when you buy stuff on Craigslist from people, I tend to just figure, it's actually quite funny. It's like, could I say I'm selling a PS3 online and it just straight up is broken and then I made $80 off some sucker? Absolutely. Anyone could do that. There would be no consequences. But yet, people don't. People generally, in my opinion, in my experience on Craigslist, are lovely people. So even though the PS3 is still in my car, I have no doubt that it works excellently. But anyway, other than that...
on Craigslist with video games and stuff, if you find something for a reasonable price on Craigslist, the person went to GameStop and GameStop was like, I'll give you $6. And they're like, you sell them for 80. I'm going to go sell them for 80, and you get them for a decent price. If you get things that are way too cheap, those are probably broken.
Yeah.
If you get things that are charging full price, those are also probably broken. It's the ones that are the ones that you would actually click buy on. Those are usually people that enjoy playing games and are just trying to make rent or whatever.
And also, I always think, if I was selling this, what price would I sell it at? For example, I have a TV, right? And I don't know what that TV is actually fucking worth. I don't know what I quote-unquote could get for it. But you know what I'm going to sell it for? I'm going to sell it for $40. Why?
Yeah.
because if I sell it for more than that, I probably have to wait for someone to actually buy it. I mostly just want to get rid of it. And that's how it usually is on Craigslist. So it's like, is this the price I would put something at if I just wanted to fucking get it out of my hands without having to throw it away, because that's not nice? Yeah, probably. Anyway, so I got a PS3. I spent most of my week having a cascading series of panic attacks. It was rough. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. Starting on Tuesday evening, something relatively minor happened with my partner, and it wasn't even like an argument. I just mean like the two of us were doing something, and then something bad happened. And it was relatively minor, but it just threw me off, right? And I have a billion things I got to be doing right now. I like kind of way overbooked myself as far as I overcommitted as far as like responsibilities and stuff. So then for the next 3 days, I was just like a tangled mass of nerves and like physiological, like, you know, had like needed to lay down all the time, headaches. It was rough. It kind of sucked. Let's see. What else? I feel like something happened on Friday. What happened on Friday? I don't know. Anyway, but then yesterday my friend was moving out, and she's moving to a new house that's like relatively close to her existing one, and she's an artist, and she's like, hey, she says in my group chat that we're in, she's like, hey, if anyone wants some art supplies, just come get them. I need to get rid of them. And then she's like, oh, also I have a bunch of paintings. That are my paintings. She initially called them shitty paintings, but then upon further pressing, she admitted that she was just being hard on herself, and they were in fact good paintings. So she's like, okay, well, no, they're not shitty. Some of them I don't like, and some of them are pretty good. So I went to her place to get some paintings, and sure enough, they're gorgeous because I want some art for my house. And while I was there, like 2 or 3 other friends were also there, and these are people I haven't seen IRL in ages. So we were just standing outside of her house, you know, like on the porch, just chatting, and it was really, really, really nice. It was really refreshing. It was just what I needed, honestly. It fucking ruled. Friendship, highly recommended.
I'll give that a try. Haven't had that before.
Soon, one of these days, me and the same group of people are going to get to hang out in a bar and drink some drinks, but not yet. But, you know, the end is in sight. So, yeah, my week was mostly just really lousy, and then at the end, it got pretty good. So,
nice. What about you, Eli?
I don't think I did anything.
that sounds
nothing noteworthy, at least.
I love this for you.
Yeah,
me too.
It's pretty cool. I have shows coming up in Final Fantasy that I've got to work on. One of them, so on this Saturday, my character Kaito is going to be participating in a show called Eorzea Vision, which is a play on Eurovision.
Gotcha, yeah.
Nice.
And so he's representing Doma, and he's going to be singing Yatta by Hapatai.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know.
You don't know Yatta? It was
No.
like a big... Oh my god, you're 7 years younger than me. I keep forgetting this. It was a Flash video back on Albino Black Sheep, but it is a...
Well, that's my time. I must have just not seen that
Okay.
one.
Right?
It's like a parody of boy band songs from like the 70s in Japan. And it's hilarious. And it's by... Hapatai means Green Leaf Gang. Or Leaf Gang. And they wear underwear with big green leaves over top of them.
Nice.
And it's really great.
That sounds fun.
And it's just singing about how much they love life and how great it is. And so Kaito is gonna run around wearing a big old leaf and making a fool of himself, as he is wont to do. And it's an actual contest with actual prizes that's run by a couple of friends of mine, and I am going in fully expecting not to win. I just want my boy to go up and make an ass of himself, because that's what he does.
Yeah.
Because I I love making people laugh. I just ruined Disney for everyone. And unfortunately I can't share the song with you two because it contains spoilers for Stormblood.
Rip. Yeah, please don't. At some point, I'm going to actually get to play a video game again, and I will be excited to play Stormblood.
Yeah. Once you've played Stormblood, let me know, and then I can ruin Under the Sea for you.
Oh, nice. Love it. Oh,
yeah.
Don't worry, you can't ruin it. I'm not a big fan of that movie or its music anyway.
Fair. When I was doing the practice run at the venue where the show was going to be held, the person who was holding the show went, "Howard Ashman is rolling in his grave." And I'm like, yes, good, excellent. It's exactly what I wanted. But it's an original piece that I completely rewrote myself. Nice. I also did one for "I'll Make a Man Out of You." I'm very proud of both of them. Both of them contain spoilers because my character is an Alra, but whatever. Like I said, let me know. Let me know once you've played through that, and I will share with you, and you can have a good hearty chuckle.
That sounds lovely. I will. Yeah, I might even have 2 hearty chuckles.
Oh, excellent!
So my current plan is because right now the PS5 upgrade is in open beta for 14, and if you have an active subscription and you own the game already, you get the PS5 version for free now during the beta, and then when it comes out. So I think when it comes out, I will re-up my subscription so I can claim that for free and try for that next month. What I do is play 14 and try and get through an expansion and try and give myself a month for each expansion to try and catch up so that I don't have to keep a active subscription, but I can play Final Fantasy, because the fact that there are like 5 Final Fantasies out there that are waiting on me makes me really happy.
Yeah, I'm glad for the PS5 upgrade for a lot of reasons, because like there's been so much technical debt in this game because it came out on PS3.
Yeah,
and it's they're finally making improvements to it that support modern consoles, but like the original 1.0 being on PS3 was a huge detriment to the game.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
because as seen in both of the YouTube docs, both titled "The Rise and Fall of" or "The Fall and Rise of Final Fantasy XIV." It was funny when Eli recommended that doc, I ended up watching the wrong one, not the one he was talking about, because there's 2. But it was on the one that I was watching, and in the other one, they talk about how they use an interview with Yoshi where he was like, the game came out on PS3. That game was broken and unplayable. I owed it to those people to release a PS3 version. And like at the time, I see that. I'm like, I understand Realm Reborn should come out on the PS3, but also fuck the PS3.
Yeah. But yeah, like I've just got a lot of shit going on in Final Fantasy, and that's basically my life at this point, and I'm totally satisfied with that.
Nice. I had a really weird weekend filled with a lot of anxiety. Well, all of those anxiety are ADHD hyperfocus induced, so love to have that 1-2 punch of mental disorders. But so yesterday I was watching the anime Scried, and Scried is awesome, by the way. Everyone should watch it. But because there was a TikTok that said, what was the anime that made you say, oh yeah, anime is my shit? And for me, that was Scried. Like, I had watched Digimon beforehand, but Digimon was my shit. Scried was the first time I'm like, okay, anime is a cool thing. And so I looked up its banger of an intro, because it's like second only to A Cruel Angel's Thesis as like the best anime intro. And love the shit out of it. So then, of course, I started watching it from scratch again. And while I was doing so, I was like, a lot of my like favorite animes were just because our library had a deal with ADV Films, where ADV sent us volume 1 of like everything in their library. So I've seen volume 1 of a lot of good obscure shit from the 2006 to 2009 time frame, I should go back and finish those. And so I went and I downloaded all of Glass Fleet. I downloaded Burst Angel and of course Scride and Panty Pony Dash and Azumanga Daioh, like deep cuts, but they were shit that I loved back when I was Anime Club president. And so I was trying to think of more because I know there was more like weird stuff. And so I messaged my friend Samantha on Instagram because she was in Anime Club with us. But I was like, you know who would actually know? Lola, my co-president. We were co-president, but I haven't like heard from Lola since like college, and I wasn't even done with college. It was like 2011. I'm like, it's been forever. I haven't even like seen her, and I know that she had deleted her Facebook and stuff before that. So I went on Instagram, and first thing I did is I Googled her, and I Googled Lola last name and from Texas, and the first thing that comes up was an obituary. I was like, oh shit. That then ticked off my anxiety. I'm like, my friend is dead. And so I was like, and so I looked, and that was just some old lady. But now I couldn't get it out of my head that Lola was dead. So I went to her friends and family's Instagram, and like she didn't have an Instagram. And so I was like going through, but like most of them have stopped posting, and it's like 1 or 2 posts a year since 2012. And so Lola wasn't in any of the pictures, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, I just want proof that she's alive, you know? And so I was looking through everything, and then I found on her older sister's Instagram, who actually does post all the time, a family picture of back in 2018, where Lola was in the picture, but was a boy. Lola was born a boy, was then a Lola, was now a boy again, and I was confused. But that gave me information, so I searched for Logan last name, and I included Anahuac, my hometown, and I saw that he is now a esports star, for Overwatch star for this college. And that college has an esports centric Discord because of course they do. So I joined that Discord, saw that a person named Logan was online, and sent them a message like, "Hey, were you my Anime Club president?" and reconnected with an old friend. He's not dead. He also he says that he retransitioned back in when he was 23 and has had a partner for a lot of years, and I don't know any of the details on that because frankly it's none of my business. But it was a hell of a trip because I was planning on like working on the computer and working on the stuff that I've been putting off at about 8 o'clock. But then I saw that obituary at 8:01, and then at 11 I got a message from Logan that said that they were fine. And so
well, that was an adventure.
That was a hell of an adventure. Most of it was like me pulling out my hair to be like, I hope this person's alive.
I gotta say, if I couldn't find someone with a certain name anymore, not my first thought, but one of my thoughts might be, what if they transitioned? But but if they've already transitioned, that's the last thing I would think.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'd be like, that's one thing they didn't do at least. If anything, if there's one thing I definitely know didn't happen, it's this.
Yeah.
But that's true though. People do all kinds of things. And it's easy to forget that.
Yeah. So shout outs, Logan, if you're listening. It was great to reconnect with you last night. He asked what I was doing, and I said the podcast and dropped it. So I hope I didn't overshare, and I left out your last name just in case. But and then that leads us up to today. Do you want to hear about today?
Sure.
Um, so today we were supposed to get our couch from IKEA, and the email said we'll be there from 1 to 4. So at 12:30, I get a text that says, "Hey, we're 15 minutes out." Then 15 minutes later, I get a call from a Milwaukee phone number. I learn about both of this at 1 o'clock because I'm like, I need to grab my phone so that I'll have it, so I'll be able to know when the IKEA people get here. Right. So I give them a call back at 1, and they don't answer. And I call them back at like 1:05, and I leave a voicemail, but I don't get a call back. And so then I call the customer service, and I'm like, "Hey, do you have any like updates? Did they leave? Like, what?" On my end, it just still says from 1 to 4. I'm not getting any updates. And like, "Oh, I'm sure they'll loop back around or anything, but I'll jot it in the file to call you with updates or whatever." Never got a call. 4 o'clock rolled around. Never got anything. Doorbell never rang. Nothing the whole time. And so then I get an email. They're like, "Hey, we didn't deliver your couch today. Please call IKEA and reschedule a delivery." So I call IKEA, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" And they're like, "What the fuck? They didn't even ring your doorbell or call you back when you called them. They just they drove from Milwaukee to Madison, which is like an hour and a half drive. They drove that, tried for 3 minutes, gave up, turned around, and left all the way back to Milwaukee and didn't do anything." And it pissed me off to be sitting there waiting for 4 hours thinking like, because I was letting Stormy watch videos on my phone, we're now never going to get a couch, et cetera, sort of anxiety thoughts. But now they're coming on Wednesday, and I made sure they left delivery notes to ring the goddamn doorbell if we don't answer the phone. Like, what the hell? Pissed me off. So I don't have a couch at my house right now.
Ooh,
I will on Wednesday, and that'll be fun. But yeah, that was my life. So let's talk about this movie because it's better than my life.
Let's do it.
If I had one wish, I would go into Vision and I would say, "I want a couch."
Would you really? That's what you're gonna go with?
Just a couch?
Yeah.
Just any old couch. Not even like you don't want to specify like a nice couch. Or...
A couch. Yeah, I will do nothing about the systematic injustices in this country. I will just take a couch.
Give couch. Give couch, please.
Well, it's kind of it's like, oh my god, I just heard, sorry to reference this, the most cursed of all television shows, but it's like the episode of The Office when two different groups of people want something with the surplus budget, and instead of getting something that either group would want, Michael Scott just gets something that he wants. Analogously, if you can't decide between two very difficult decisions, instead pick a third decision that isn't that good. But the thing is, it's not that good. It's not a good choice. It's not a good thing to do. But it does stop you from having to choose between two actual good options. I would be lying if I said I had never used that strategy.
I was about to say like, yes, Maddy, we've all read the Democratic National Committee's website.
That one too.
Yes. They're like, well, it's impossible to balance abolishing the police and Medicare for all, so instead, access to health insurance and thoughts and prayers.
No, instead we'll wear like African clothes in the Senate. And for the record, I'm sure it was some kind of specific thing, but I'm not going to specify because I don't know what it is. But you know what? Neither did they.
Anywho, let's talk about this movie. We're going to listen to some music. I don't know if I'll be able to find it or
and
what.
Song.
We'll listen to something. Listen to Anne's song.
If you can't find anything in the movie, you can just play more stuff from the game.
Probably so. right, Maddy, take it away.
Yeah, so this movie, I only got about 2/3 of the way through the film, and then Sam had to take over. So just a heads up, basically once we get to the third act, Sam's going to be doing notes because this movie was more dense than I expected, so it was taking a lot longer than I generally block out to watch and take notes, and I had shit to do. So we open on a nearly, just in case you're curious, the movie is just called Brave Story, nothing else. Unless, maybe like the box says something, but whatever.
Yeah, I think it's Wataru's Adventure is the subtitle.
Yeah, well, who cares?
That happens.
Yeah.
But
so we
title screen just says Brave Story.
Exactly. So anyway, we open on a nearly entirely black screen. It is nighttime. We hear crickets, birds, and other nighttime sounds, and footsteps. Finally, a voice. Kachan, we have to turn back. We see two young boys moving through some sort of abandoned factory, navigating by flashlight and the scant moonlight that penetrates through gaps in the ceiling. I'm going to be calling this a factory repeatedly. It's probably not a factory, but I got locked into calling it that, so whatever. It's a building of some kind that is abandoned. Anyway, Kachan and his friend Wataru, ding ding ding, are here looking for ghosts. Kachan's mother told him that after kids turn 20, they can't see ghosts anymore, and Wataru needs to stop being, and Kachan, not Kachan's mother, says that Wataru needs to stop being a chicken. A new kid in class 2 said he saw a ghost here. Wataru says that this is stupid and he doesn't believe in ghosts, but he clearly is terrified of ghosts, so he's just bullshitting here. You can not believe in something and simultaneously be scared of it. That's a real thing. So suddenly, a noise, a flash, a creature, bright eyes, fur, energy. The kids freak the fuck out and start running away from what is almost definitely just a goddamn cat. They exit the building and run into the moonlight, but Wataru's foot lands square on some kind of orb thing. The orb. The orb rolls, glowing and making a glass on concrete sound. You know the one. It's a good sound. As Wataru loses his balance and fucking beefs it. I just want to pause here and mention, at this point, it's honestly 3 minutes ago, it should become clear. This movie is beautiful. It's got incredible
so good.
graphics. It looks like a movie. It looks like an anime movie from 5 years later. Honestly, it's got it uses a lot of CG, and it uses CG really well. And it does a lot of particle effects and atmospheric stuff, lots of beautiful skies and sunrises and sunsets, and water and mist and wind.
It gave me some Studio Ghibli vibes.
Yeah, It definitely has some Ghibli vibes, but it also has some it reminded me kind of more modern anime.
Yeah, it reminded me of a Hosoda film almost.
Yeah. But it's weird because it's 2006, so very, very high budget film. So anyway, Wataru nurses his tailbone, but notices that the orb is glowing even more. He picks it up and gazes into its depths, and the sky seems to deepen and widen. A shadow steps from around the corner, a robed figure. The robed figure says, "Aya, is that you?" The person lifts their hood to reveal themselves to be another young boy, probably Wataru's age, with sandy hair in contrast with Wataru's dark hair. He realizes that Wataru is not Aya and says, quote, "It's still just the first one." He then takes the orb from Wataru and heads up a nearby set of stairs and rounds the corner. Wataru chases him and sees the stairs go up and up and up what seems like infinity, and a giant magical door is cracked open. It's the same door that we remember from the video game. The sandy-haired boy enters the door, and it closes behind him. Kachan returns with the troublesome cat, and Wataru tells him about the sandy-haired boy and the door to the heavens. Then we get the Brave Story title card. The next morning, Wataru sleeps in because he was up all night and is late for school. After some normal scenes with his parents, he joins up with Kachan on his way to school. Kachan fully believes Wataru's story, although he thinks the kid was a ghost, while Wataru's no, it was a normal non-ghost boy. As they approach the school, Kachan sees someone in the upstairs classroom through the window, and is like, "Oh look, it's that kid from class 2. The one who saw the ghost. And oh heck, it's the sandy-haired boy from last night." Wataru springs into action, rushing up to the classroom. When he arrives, the sandy-haired boy, whose name is Ashikawa, is surrounded by girls fawning over him, but he's just chill and looks deep in thought and or depressed. Wataru is about to approach him, but suddenly a bully appears. The bully says, "Hey, you were at the factory last night. That's upperclassmen only, ghost hunter territory." The bully is about to kick Ashikawa's ass, but he stays 100% cool and unmoved. Eventually, a teacher shows up and takes the bully away, but everyone is super impressed by Ashikawa's coolness. Wataru climbs the stairs. Oh, and that's it. Wataru does not end up making contact with Ashikawa, though they do lock eyes. So then, later that evening, Wataru climbs the stairs to his apartment and sees his dad just leaving. He's like, "Hey, Dad, there's this cool new kid in school. I definitely am having a crush on him and having weird feelings about that." That's not canon. But anyway, he gets stopped. And his dad says, "Oh, hey, Wataru, I'm leaving. Forever. I'm going to live with someone that isn't your mom." Wataru at first thinks that this is a joke, but it isn't. Wataru then rushes inside and is like, Mom, what are you doing just standing there? What are you doing just sitting there? Dad's leaving." And she is a really bit of subtlety here. When he first runs in, she's looking at some important pieces of paper, clearly like some kind of legal documents. I mean, we can use our imaginations to assume it's probably like a divorce paper or something, but I mean, we don't know that. So she's looking at it, and as soon as he runs in, she just like gently just like flips the paper over, right? And so Wataru is like, Mom, Dad's leaving," and she's like, No, Wataru, he's just going on a business trip. He's always going on business trips. She's lying. She's just saying that. So Wataru runs out the door crying and screaming for his dad, but he's gone. So that night, Ashikawa is tied up and gagged by the bullies at the factory. They're tormenting him and telling him that this is what he gets for defying them. But Wataru shows up and tries to save the day, but he is just getting his ass beat. He manages to remove the tape over Ashikawa's mouth, though. So then Ashikawa starts saying something that sounds like a chant or a spell. He prays to the Lord of Darkness to honor their pact, and he calls upon the Queen of something or other called Bardaroni. No, it's not. It's not Italian. Then a fucking demon lady shows up and eats one of the bullies. The graphics are amazing. It's super scary, and she just gulps him down.
Bardarone, if you're listening, you could step on my neck if you wanted to. It would be fine. I'd be okay with it. I'd put up a little bit of a fight, but it would just be for show.
She's hot, yeah. She chases down the others and eats them. Although later we do see a quick shot of all three of them lying on the ground, unconscious, but they are actually unharmed. So she didn't literally eat them.
Yeah. They're not dead.
So that's good. Wow, that's good, because for a second there, I thought Ashikawa was the kind of person who would murder people. Good thing he's not. So later they're sitting on a bench drinking soda. Ashikawa is like, "This is no business for a kid like you, Wataru." But then he does thank him for coming regardless. They walk through a park and there's a lot of tension. And Ashikawa says that there are no ghosts, actually. That's just some rumor someone made up. It's probably because Ashikawa is going to that building all the time, and someone noticed. At this point, I'm like, oh, is this like Digimon Season 2, where instead of being trapped in another world, they just go there after school? That's weird. Turns out that's not the case, but maybe it also is. I don't know. They never explained what was. Mm-hmm.
It was the case for Mitsuru, which I'm glad you quoted that line earlier, because it's part of my Mem Moms later. Which will clear a lot of things up from me watching this in several languages. But yes, Mitsuru after school would be going into Vision to get a gemstone at a time.
See, that makes sense. It's just that's not how the rest of the movie is, and it's also not how the game is. So it's I guess he just operates by different rules than everyone else. Anyway, also he is also called Mitsuru. And isn't Mitsuru in the game?
Yeah, Mitsuru and Wataru are both in the game.
I remember Wataru being in the game, but I could not remember Mitsuru. When does Mitsuru?
It's in one of the dungeons.
Yeah, when you fall down with your name written on your sleeve, that dungeon, Mitsuru is the guest party member there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I barely remember. Yeah, I knew it showed up. I couldn't. Yeah, so Ashikawa's his first name is his given name is Mitsuru. I just kept forgetting, and I was already in the habit of writing Ashikawa, so whatever. Also, It is a while before they start calling him that. So anyway, So hold on. Oh yeah. So yeah, he tells them about how he's always going into this building. So Wataru presses him some more. He's like, two things. First of all, Wataru clearly wants a friend, and also definitely is enamored with this boy, in a totally platonic way. And in addition, he also wants to know what was up with that fucking magic door. But Ashikawa is trying to remain aloof, though he does also seem to like Wataru. Ashikawa says his business is no place for a, quote, carefree kid like Wataru. But Wataru gets really upset and says he's not a carefree kid at all. His dad literally just walked out on him. But then Ashikawa says something very cruel. He's like, well, I mean, it's just a divorce. At least you get to see your dad if you want to. And then he disappears. Wataru looks around, but doesn't see Ashikawa. The wind picks up, and the sky goes wild again. Ashikawa's voice tells Wataru, he's like, fine, I'll tell you, if you enter the door, you can get your wish granted. I'll see you later, Mitani, which I guess is
Wataru's
last name, yeah. So Wataru returns home to... See, here's the thing, because this is like alternate dimensions, I did kind of wonder, like, oh, is Mitani like some special other name, like a lore thing? But no, it's not.
Just the last name.
So Wataru returns home to find his mother lying on the floor unconscious. That's not good. We cut to the hospital, where she's taken to the ER. Wataru doesn't know what's going on. Frankly, I think it's a little weird that he leaves so quickly before he even knows exactly how hurt his mom is, but his mom seems to be like on the verge of death. He starts to follow her into the hospital, but then remembers Ashikawa's words. If he goes through the door, he can change his destiny. He rushes out of the hospital, to the building, up the stairs, and yes, the door is still there. He hesitates once more, but then resolves he will change his destiny. The door opens. Okay, so once he opens the door, a bunch of crazy shit happens with cool graphics, and in the interest of time, I must skip all of it. Remember how in the beginning of Race Roadie Traveler, we met a bunch of birds, and then the birds told us to go to the Cave of Trials, and then we went to the Cave of Trials and had some mysterious dialogue and some quote-unquote puzzles? It's that. It's really, really cool how they do it with all these crazy graphics.
Yeah, and a bonus points for the PSP game. It's amazing how they like accurately portrayed this part.
Yeah.
In PSP graphics.
It's the same shit.
Awesome.
It's great. So anyway, eventually our boy escapes and ends up in a forest. We meet Wayfinder Monk Rao. He explains the stuff about travelers and the goddess. This is all the stuff we already know. He also analyzes Wataru's stats and gives him the diagnosis. His stats suck ass. Oh well, Here's a sword. Here's one of 5 gemstones to start with. See ya. So Wataru is now in a desert. He walks for ages. He's real tired. And then he meets a little guy. Remember the enemies from the game that were like little wolves, but their snouts were like
wolves.
Spiral gimbal wolves. Yeah, they opened up in 4 directions and were spirals and were really cute. It's a little Paparino of one of those. Wataru is like, oh hell yeah, a Paparino, but then a billion zillion enemies appear.
I was a little concerned about why he wasn't weirded out that when this thing opened its maw, it opened 4 ways.
I think he was this for a second, but then he was just like, whatever, a cute Paparino is cute. But yeah, then a billion zillion enemies appear. He bravely fights one of them, but then runs away. And, I mean, he is level 1. And he's saved by a waterkin, aka Lizard Man. They don't use the word waterkin in this because it has a different translator. Later, I'm going to be mostly using the game words for these things, unless I happened to catch what the localizer of this anime actually called them. Okay, it's the same shit. So later, after recovering, Wataru and the lizard man talk. If you remember from the game, it's Kikima. When Kikima asks if Wataru is from the is it okay? Farther on,
Ilda is what the professional dubbers called it, the Ilda Empire.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. I think it was called
every
Irda
time Irda. Every time it showed up in the anime, I got the name wrong until like my last page of notes. I finally started getting it right, so I had to scroll down. Yeah, the Irda Empire, whatever. It's the Empire. So anyway,
It's the Empire that when we got most of the way through the game and the Highlanders were like, yeah, we can't help you because you have to go stop the Empire from invading. We're like, LOL, what Empire? This Empire. It was a reference to the main story.
The Empire is Sir not appearing in the tie-in game. Yes. It is on another continent though, so fair enough. So anyway, they're from the Irda Empire, and he's like, I don't know what that is. And Kikima's like, oh fuck, you don't know shit about shit? That means you must be a traveler. Very kind of him to assume that you're a traveler, not just stupid. So anyway, Kikima explains that meeting a traveler is a sign of good luck. So Kikima's real excited. They get to the town of Gatara, aka Gathara. If you recall from the game, that is like the 5th town we went to. It was after the forest, if you get all the towns mixed up. It was a beautiful foresty town with really quiet music and a big tree in the middle. That's what it is here too. So that's the first town in this movie. So they get to the town of Gatara, and we realize that Kikima is a delivery driver, which is cool. He takes us to the nicest restaurant in town and explains stories of people having crazy good luck even after so much as having a dinner with a traveler. He orders us a fuck ton of food, tells Wataru, have your fill, but then says, I gotta go make deliveries, please don't go anywhere. Wataru is chowing down, but then, oh fuck, he sees Ashikawa out the window. He tries to chase after Ashikawa, but again, loses him in the crowd. He then sees an enormous building and is like, I'm going to go to the enormous building. And inside is a super crazy circus. There's an amazing scene with this whole circus has the best graphics. There's a scene with a Kitkin trapeze artist, which is extremely mesmerizing. So in this movie, in the game, Kitkin just were like, they were cat girls, right? They just looked like cat girls. They were humanoid. They were normal sized. They had pretty normal dimensions, except that they were a little fuzzy and had cute ears. Like it was like very much like if you want to draw a girl who's also a sexy cat, that's what you draw, right? In this anime, they're not. Kitkin are like half size and are much more cat-like. They're really, really, really cute. I really like them. And anyway, there's an incredible scene with this trapeze artist who gives on quite a show. And afterward, Wataru is investigating, and he sees some mysterious dudes trying to like steal a little critter backstage. He tries to stop them, like, hey, stop stealing the critter, but they run off. And then the Kitkin acrobat and another guy who's presumably like the circus manager show up and are like, hey, what the hell? Why are you trying to steal that little critter? And he's like, no, I wasn't. So they take him to the Highlander HQ, and Kutz is there. Everyone's favorite extreme fucking hottie Kutz, which makes sense because this does take place like literally right before, like if I had to guess, I would say that Wataru probably gets warped into vision like, I don't know, a week before the main character in New Traveler does. I don't know exactly. I'm just saying it's very concurrent, right? So yeah, Kutz is there, and she's like, I don't care if you're a traveler, you can't steal a baby dragon. Come on, Jack. She takes his sword and throws him in jail. So in the jail cell, Wataru despairs, but a mysterious voice says, don't despair. She actually did talk to you earlier, but it wasn't important. She says, don't despair, I've taken a liking to you. He says, who are you and where are you? And she says, I'm not going to answer, but I am going to show you a vision of your mom. Wataru's mom is alive, but in critical condition. The voice tells Wataru to go to the abandoned church and also to believe in himself. The next day, he pulls him.
Meanwhile, I'm like, Oh, goody. We skipped over the abandoned church in the game. I'm excited to finally see some cool-ass anime abandoned church.
Which is, let's all get excited to actually see the inside of that abandoned church. So the next day, he pulls some shenanigans and tries to escape. He grabs the sword from over Kutz's desk and makes it outside, but Kutz grabs his leg with her whip, and it's really cool, and she pulls him back. She can do that to me if she wants. So she tells him, she's like, dude, we were literally about to set you free, you dumbass. That baby dragon got stolen last night, and you were in jail, so you obviously didn't do it. However, y'all could be in cahoots, so how about you help us catch the true culprit? So, Wataru journeys with Kikima to an abandoned church, under which is a water cave, except, as Sam just mentioned, it turns out the video game didn't, as I had assumed, cut the abandoned church, because he cut things in development sometimes, but it turns out they were just being true to the source material, because in this movie, we don't see the church. We literally see them walking up to a church from the outside, and now they're in an underground water cave. And they're like, damn, we sure did go through that church to get to this cave.
See, now I'm wondering if in the book they do it, and then when I read the book and they don't do it, I'll wonder if the original manuscript did it. And then if the original manuscript doesn't do it, then I'll wonder if the thoughts in his head did it. I just got to keep going until I find what was in the church.
So anyway, in the cave, there's some baddies, the aforementioned thieves, and they try to get the dragon back. Also, so the Kitkin from before is here, and there's some dialogue, and there's a bit of stuff here, and it's actually kind of confusing, and I'm just kind of going to skip over it because later it all makes sense. So, so she's there for some reason, even though she was just an acrobat and also works for the circus. So then an enormous lake monster appears, and it's really cool, and there's a really exciting chase scene, and they escape. But then Wataru realizes he doesn't have a sword, so he dives back into the lack to get it, and he has to fight the monster. It's dope. When he gets back with his sword, they apprehend the thieves and return to the branch. Kutz is like, good job, you're a Highlander now. Here, take this bracelet. Wataru then continues on his journey. As Wataru and Kikima travel by wagon, we see that the Kitkin is there too, in the back. Wataru finally speaks to her. Kutz basically asked her to come along to help him out because he's a brand new Highlander. And she brought the little dragon. Her name is Mina. It's spelled different, but it's still Mina. The little dragon's name is Jojo. I'm just kidding. It's Jozo. And the dragon is the baby of the great fire dragon. So they don't explain this all right away, but I'll just explain it. Basically, Mina is, for a second I was like, wait, was the acrobat like a different character? But no. Mina was the acrobat. She worked for the circus, and then she accused you of trying to steal the little dragon. And then later it turned out she was in cahoots with the thieves. What happened is she is on a journey herself to search for her father. And these thieves told her that if she helped them steal the dragon, they would find her. They would help her find her father. They had some kind of lead. They were just lying. So she was doing a bad thing in pursuit of her dream.
Themes.
Yeah, exactly. Again, that's not 100% clear till later, but I'm just laying it all out there. So now the party of four is assembled. We get a montage set to a pretty song of them going around and having adventures. It's really sweet. It's really cool. I really like this montage. Again, this movie is just nonstop graphics. Eventually, they end up in a Venice-like canal city. I actually forgot that the city had canals in the game, so it took me a bit to remember that it's the Italian city from the game. The city that we go to pretty early on, and then all that stuff happens later. That's where we're at. But Wataru gets separated from the group. A mysterious robed figure says, "Hey, looks like you're lost, kid. Let me and my men help you." It's Father Daimon, the totally normal bishop. He takes Wataru to a great cathedral, where he treats him to yet another scrumptious meal, while his men search for Wataru's friends. He says he'd like to treat us to something special, but the fruit comes from a nearby forest. Recently, the entire forest burned to the ground. A traveler burned it all down just to get a single gemstone. From the description, Wataru realizes that this is Ashikawa. Father Diamond says you and your friend should go to Trianka Hospital, where many victims of the fire are still. He says, you go on ahead, I'll send your friends to catch up with you. But the film then shows us that, oh no, they've actually been captured and are in a big cage. RIP! As we approach the hospital, the guard with us shares that the the magician traveler, has done all sorts of other bad things too. I didn't write down what they are, but he's done other bad things. But Wataru can't believe it. Suddenly, the mysterious voice speaks again. This is a trap. This man is not your friend. Don't go in there. So Wataru starts to be like, oh, fuck, I left the oven on. Bye. But then the man says, oh yeah, that magician is still in there. He was badly burned. This immediately works, and Wataru rushes into the hospital like, Ashikawa, where are you? Inside, it's like a normal functioning hospital. It's not a super overgrown vine dungeon like it was in the game. People are just like sitting on benches in the waiting room, normal hospital stuff. He's like, where's the magician? What got burned? And the guard points him to the left. Wataru goes, and it's his dad? We get a real good scene here. So he walks towards his dad, and then the graphics change, and suddenly he's back in the real world, though the dragon is still on his shoulder. He confronts his dad, like, what the hell, man? But his dad is like, he gives this long speech about how once you're an adult, you'll understand, and you think he's going to give some reason, like there's some kind of twist. But no, he's just like, I suck. I'm tired of being a dad. I'm tired of being a husband. Every day I go to work and I get no respect. And at first I'm like, oh, is the mother and the child not giving the dad, validation? Do they not make him feel appreciated? But no, he's like, I want to buy a fancy car and have all the fancy toys, and I don't give a shit about my family. So he renounces all of it. He's really awful, and he yells at Wataru. Then Wataru looks at himself in the mirror to his left and is filled with a deep rage. But then a voice says, break. And then what I wrote was that the hospital and everything and Wataru's dad burn to ashes and start spinning away. But it's actually not ashes. They get turned into like dead leaves. It's extremely cool. And then the whole hospital becomes an overgrown, leafy, viney dungeon. Which it will be later in the video game, which is cool. So anyway, everything just fucking crumbles into leaves, and then we see Ashikawa floating in the air, surrounded by all the little bits. He's like, of course I wouldn't be burned by my own fire magic. Then he talks to the guard and is like, hey, did you write that spell on the roof? Because you wrote it wrong, dude. He then summons some leaf monsters to kill the guard. Wataru's like, no, don't. They argue. Ashikawa is like, dude, you saw all the bad things I did? Like, I'm a bad dude. Get out of here. But Wataru is like, no, I want to believe that you have good reasons to do what you did, or maybe you just didn't realize how many people you were hurting. Like, he's literally making excuses for it, but Ashikawa was like, no, I just did those things because I'm bad. Ashikawa is like, why did you come here, dude? Did you come here to help the people of Vision, to make peace and save the world? And Wataru's like, well, no, I came to save my mom and get my wish. And Ashikawa's like, yeah, me too. And then he's like, I'm going to the Idris Elba. I mean, Idrar's Empire. Okay, darn it. I was trying to make the joke, but then I did actually forget what it's called. Irda. The Irda Empire. Oh shit, I scrolled down and then I scrolled up. I'm going to the Irda Empire, and I will do anything to get my wish granted. So he warps away. He's made very clear what his motivations are, but Wataru takes a while to understand this. So back in the prison, Kikima and Mina try to escape. But as they're trying and kind of failing, someone shows up and lets them out. We don't know who it is yet. So we cut back to Wataru. He's sneaking in to save his friends, but then he stumbles upon a scene. Father Diamond is building a huge military fleet, attempting some sort of coup. Wataru gets discovered, and a bunch of soldiers are about to fuck him up. But then the person from before appears. It's Cuts. She's there with Kikima and Mina and a whole bunch of Highlanders. There's a big battle. It's really exciting. And at one point, Father Diamond casts a spell at Wataru, but he totally Zeldas it back at him. And then it goes into his staff, and he disintegrates and leaves behind an orb. Here's the thing. In this movie, sometimes it's extremely obvious that Wataru has received one of the 5 gemstones, and you'll see the gemstone go into his sword and light up. Other times, it just is not clear about that at all. So, he gets this orb, and my first thought is oh, it's a gemstone, but then it just cuts to the next scene. It doesn't show the orb go into his sword. So I'm oh, maybe that wasn't a gemstone, maybe that was just an orb. But no, it is in fact one of the gemstones.
And it didn't show anything at all when he killed the lake monster and got one, except for his sword had a new power. The inflatey thingy when he got to the top of it.
Actually,
showed
you may have...
It didn't show anything of it.
You actually may have missed it, because actually that's what confused me. I actually was confused in the opposite direction that you are, because actually there is something very subtle. After he kills the lake monster, I can't really explain it, but basically a little green light sort of pops out of Lake Monster's eyes, in one shot. It's a very quick shot. But a little glowy green thing goes from Lake Monster to Wataru's sword and goes into the sword. So I actually forgot to mention that because I forgot to put it in my notes. But that actually is very clear. It's not clear, it's too subtle, but it is still a thing came out and went into your sword. So at that point he has two gems. But this time it's he has an orb. And at no point are they no, he just got the 3rd gemstone. But later you find out that he has 4, and then you have to reverse engineer, and you're oh, so that thing was a gemstone, I guess. I really, really, really like this movie, but they don't do a good job of making this make any sense. So anyway, he now has 3. So the battle having been won, Kutch then receives a report. As he said he was going to do, the magician has teamed up with the Irda Empire, and they've got a giant magical army, and war is imminent. So we cut to the Irda Empire, which again was not in the game. And wow.
It looks like Tears Haven, but it's not.
Yeah. So Irda is massive and fancy. It is, culturally, it is not everything in the original game, or not original, but just in the game. In the game, there aren't really any big cities. They're all fantasy, villages and towns. The only thing that approaches being a big city is the Italian Venice ass city, right? But everything else is a pretty piddly little place. And I don't just mean because it's a video game and it's being representational. I mean it is supposed to feel like it's a small town, right? It's a very pastoral kind of place. But this is what you expect when you think of the Empire. It's massive. It is opulent. There's huge, steampunk looking ass sort of esque. I'm not saying it is steampunk. I'm just saying it's just visualize that in your brain. Lots of obelisk looking buildings. So anyway, Ashikawa is at an opulent ball. He asks the princess, who is also a child, to dance. She asks about his friends and family. He says he has a younger sister, and he maybe has one friend, but he's not sure if it counts. On the balcony, he asks about if she knows of a gemstone of darkness. She at first says... Oh, also, I should have mentioned earlier, it is clear at some point that he has 4 out of 5 gemstones. So anyway, she says, I don't know about any gemstone of darkness. But then, after a little bit more prodding, she admits the entire castle was built to protect the gemstone. The gemstone holds back the demons on the other side, and removing it would destroy the world. So, don't do that. One would need to destroy the whole castle to get to the gemstone. And also, even then, there's a mirror in front of it that reflects the person's deepest fear. Ashikawa's playing it cool, just oh yeah, tell me about it. But then the princess is do you feel prepared to face that mirror? Which is, I think, really neat. He looks at her and he says, if I looked in that mirror, I'd see you there. So, meanwhile, the heroes are on a ship headed for the Irda Empire. On top of the... I said specious, but I should have said spacious. On top of the very spacious crow's nest, Wataru and Mina share a heart-to-heart. He tells her why he's searching for gemstones, We already know that, but he tells her. She says her story's not too different. Her mother died when she was young, so she was raised by her father, but one day her father disappeared, and she's been searching for him ever since. She apologizes to Jozo for getting him kidnapped and says that now she feels really guilty. Even though it was for her dream, she shouldn't have done something bad and betrayed the Sturgis people. That's why she really...
Themes.
Yeah. That's why she likes Wataru. Even though he has an important goal, he doesn't do bad things to achieve it. Wataru says that he cares for Ashikawa, but that doesn't mean he can just accept his actions. He wonders what Ashikawa's dream... But instead of being like, man, what a jerk, he's like, man, in order for him to do such awful things and like just legitimately suck in order to achieve his dream, it must be something really, really important. I wonder what it is.
He wanted a couch.
Suddenly, Jozo's horn falls off. Apparently, this is normal. Dragons shed horns and grow new ones just like their skin. But Jozo motions that...
Like their deer.
Oh yeah, I guess deer do that. So Jozo motions that Wataru should blow the horn. And it's more like a tiny whistle. Anyway, suddenly, like, 7 huge dragons show up, and one of them is Jozo's dad, and now everyone's on top of the dragons, flying toward the Empire. This escalated really quickly. It literally goes from, like, we're on a fantasy adventure to, like, crazy final battle mode in, like, the space of 30 seconds.
Yeah, the book is 900 pages, and the movie is 2 hours long, so it's still really long for a kids movie, but... the montage of it's basically the chapter 3 of Mother 3, where it is a full JRPG montage was earlier, and now we have another one.
Yeah,
where
I was kind of wondering how long the book is. Oh, Christ. Yeah. So anyway, then a bunch of cool graphics happen. But basically, the dragons all fly toward the palace at the center of Irda. Meanwhile, Ashikawa has summoned an enormous titan, which destroys everything in its path. Eventually, it reaches the palace and smashes a path into its interior. Ashikawa enters and uses his magic to make a tall chasm appear. At the top is his goal, the Gemstone of Darkness. It floats within the mirror using a really cool graphical effect, and the mirror is so cool. Endlessly rotating in the center of the room. It's cool as hell. At this point, even Ashikawa loses his cool. He's kind of awestruck by the awesome power of the stone in the mirror. Meanwhile, our heroes arrive at the palace. They fight their way to the top of the tower. Ashikawa is there, as is the princess who's imploring him to please stop doing this. Wataru and him argue. Wataru is like, you can't hurt these people, it's bad. And Ashikawa is like, you don't understand. If you knew what my destiny was I was trying to change, you'd understand why I don't care about these people. And then the mirror shows us what it is that he's thinking of. So I was like, you know what? Like, Wataru's dad, like, abandoned his family and got a divorce, and then his mom, like, maybe, like, I don't know, took a bunch of pills to try and kill herself or something. That's, like, pretty bad. But I will admit, Ashikawa's got one up on him. So it turns out that Ashikawa's mom, and this is for the record, I'm being a little lighthearted here, but this movie is actually pretty serious for most of it. It's an intense movie. It's really good. Like the parts where they're having fun, like, is pretty fun. But by the time it gets to this point, it's like, no, this is just some serious action drama. So we learn with some beautiful music that basically his mom was cheating on his dad. And then the dad found out and murdered her boyfriend and murdered his 4-year-old daughter, aka Ashikawa's little sister, and then killed himself.
It was pretty fucking horrible.
So it's a lot. And Ashikawa has some very strong emotions about all this, as you would expect. It's fucked up. So Ashikawa is overcome by emotion, and he shatters the mirror, and then he encases himself in ice. And now it's Sam's turn to finish off the rest of this movie.
So, I don't know if you glossed over it or if it's something that... because I was watching it... I'll get into it later, but I was watching it in dub with the official subtitles under, and you were watching the fan translation. Did the fan translation catch that the dad killed the mom and her boyfriend and the daughter?
Yeah, I said that.
She said
that.
Okay.
Yeah, she did.
I could not...
That's okay.
Because I was pulling up my notes because I realized, oh, wait, shit, I have to talk soon. And I missed if you talk that. Because the English dub glossed over it, so I didn't know if the fan
it was pretty subtle, actually. I like it's like it is definitely like a blink and you miss it. But yeah, no, he which I mean actually makes more. I mean, not saying murdering people makes sense in any capacity, but it makes sense that he would murder the boyfriend.
Yeah,
it was surprisingly dark and fucked up. For what I perceived as a kids movie. But
yeah, anytime the movie's like, remember how I said that, like, you know how I said that the game was very delicate with its emotions? This movie is not delicate with its emotions. Like, as soon as you get to the first scene,
it punches you.
As soon as the first scene happens where the dad like leaves, like, it's a really like heart-wrenching scene. Like, it's really
it is a
serious
gut punch straight to the feels.
Yeah, so this whole movie is like, the kid's having a fun adventure in a fantasy world, and also there's extremely big emotions happening.
It is a straight up bowl of honey nut Felios.
Yes.
Yeah, and it made me really appreciate and find interesting that the game doesn't do that. Because it's pretty easy to do hyped up anime drama. Like, it's not hard to do that. I'm not saying like it's not important or that it's easy to do well, but like I mean, hello, we're talking about JRPGs here. JRPGs have a long history of hyped up anime drama, so the fact that they instead went with the rather delicate route is interesting, especially now that I'm seeing this. But anyway, so he's encasing himself in ice, and then what happens?
So did you already say that he broke the mirror to make it shut up?
Yes.
Okay. So now that the mirror is broken, the gem is free, and it beckons to Mitsuru to grab it. So he sticks his hand in and starts to pull it out, and he promises, like, look, I got this. I'm winning. It's my last gem. I'm going to bring you back to life. Wataru screams for him to stop, but it is too late. Demons pour out from the dark gem, and we see basically the same invasion scene as in the game, which makes me a little confused because up until this point, everything in the game and the movie were very closely paced. Like the Highlanders waiting outside to go in against Daimon, like, happens exactly like, we were just here as Tatsuya. We were here. He tried to use us to use Rei to kill him, and that failed. And then we saw this scene here. So it's like we've seen it been like hand in hand, but like our demon invasion was caused by Tatsuya. This one was definitely caused by Mitsuru. So I don't know.
Maybe a demon invasion happened a little while before you showed up. And everyone, just no one talked about it. I will say, I do think two things. One, I don't know if it's clear that the demons go outside of Irda.
Maybe that's true.
Because it is only in Irda, which is on another continent. Also, one thing that I noticed that was interesting is that the game, I think maybe they just didn't want to model, like, maybe like modeling another continent with the land of Irda would have been too much work for the game's budget. Because when you think about it, they just transplanted everything that happens in Irda into going to Trianka Hospital a second time, right?
Yeah.
They just transplant that plot of development. So yeah, it's a little interesting. But anyway, go on.
So maybe it is a side by side sort of thing, but it actually makes sense with the ending that it would be at the same time. So maybe it does make sense. But at this point, I was a little confused. So Wataru runs over to the princess, and she begs him to save Mitsuru and gives him her dark gemstone. She apparently had one on herself. I'm guessing everyone does, and the whole thing about this one being important is hyped up. I don't know.
No, that's actually not it. No, this is not it. This is, first of all, it's not a dark gemstone. It's like very much like a light color, and this is his fourth gemstone, not fifth.
I thought it was his
No, it's four. He has to go get the fifth from.
I did a lot afterwards because I'll get to it in my memorable moments. It's another roller coaster to take you on, but I did a lot of like trying to piece together what the difference between the book and the game and everything was there at the end, and so I might have just
it's chill.
Might have been the dark one.
This is his fourth one, and the only dark one is the one that the bad guy has. So yeah, makes
sense. Makes a lot of things coming up make a lot of sense. So the party tells Wataru that they'll handle the demons. He needs to get to the Tower of Fortune and talk some sense to Mitsuru before he destroys the world. We get a bunch of epic as fuck scenes of the dragons and the party fighting Heka demons. And the princess tells everyone that Goku needs their spirit bomb energy, so don't lose hope. So Goku gets to the tower and sees his Dark Link version of himself, who starts attacking him on hoverboards made out of their swords. The fourth gem gives him hoverboard powers, and it's really cool. His powers, we've glossed over it so far, but he has like a hook shot. He has a green, like,
it's like an
basically
airbag.
Like a lifeboat. Yeah, it's like an airbag.
That happens. It automatically deploys whenever he like is knocked back or falls from a height.
Mm-hmm. And has the drill sword was the first one. Tatsuya gets that, but it's just graphics for Tatsuya. But he actually uses it as a drill. And
also at one point he spins like a top. It looks stupid. It's funny.
Yeah, I don't remember what the fourth power is, but those are the main three ones.
The fourth one is skateboard, hoverboard.
Yes, skateboard, green thing, hook shot, spinning. Okay, there you go. I forgot that I had already brought up the. Anywho, so Dark Link tells Goku that he's only after his wish, so why is he caring about other people? Just go get your wish. You're selfish. You just want your wish. Stop caring about people. But Goku is like, that is not the right thing to do at all. So Dark Link beats the shit out of Goku because Goku won't fight back because it'll hurt himself. Then we cut to see that Mitsuru has his own Dark Link that he's fighting. So Wataru drops to his knees and he starts to think about everything that Dark Link was saying, and it starts to like weigh on him, and his mind starts to wander about his family and how he would do everything to save his family. But now he cares about the people of Vision as well. All of his anger and sadness and everything are a part of him, and so Dark Link is part of him. So he absorbs Dark Link into himself because yes, he's angry at his dad and all of that stuff, but he also cares about all of his friends, and he's not going to just kill Vision to change his sad parts because the sad parts are part of him. Mitsuru, however, does not learn that lesson. He has a hella epic, amazingly animated yin-yang shaped waterbending match with his Dark Link.
It's the coolest shit in the world.
It reminds me of the end of the original Naruto anime. I say the end. It's the end of the important part. But there's the Naruto versus Sasuke fight. Like the animation in that one episode, it literally looks like it reminds me of Hosoda. Not to name drop him twice in this fucking episode, but it's hella animated. Then it goes back to just normal boring anime the next episode. But like that episode is super awesome and super choreographed, and that's what this reminded me of. But at the end of the fight, he traps his Dark Link into a block of ice, and Wataru is like, hey, you're just fighting yourself, don't kill him, like have character growth instead. But he is too late, and Mitsuru stabs Dark Link in the heart, which of course stabs Mitsuru himself in the heart, and he keels over. Wataru runs to Mitsuru's side and holds him while he's dying, and Mitsuru tells Wataru that he should go and get his wish. As he dies, he says, Aya, is that you? At last, we're together. And then he releases his spirit into the Force, and he leaves Wataru all alone.
Oh, that scene is fucking good.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's great.
As he's crying over the loss of his friend, Wataru sees a young girl show up out of nowhere, holding his sword. Wataru recognizes her voice as the one that's been guiding him. She's holding his sword and tells him that he can have as many wishes as he wanted. I talked about the sword twice. I should read my own notes as I write them. She says, if you kill the goddess, you'll be the new god of visions. You can have as many wishes as you want. So you can save Kikima and Mina and Kutz and Mitsuru and everyone in Vision. The girl runs to him and hugs him, but as she does so, the dark gem slots into his sword. She tells him that the goddess is evil and cruel, and Wataru is like, I'm still not going to kill the goddess. The camera swoops around him, and we see the girl's face turn all huge and froggy. Wataru's like, I will not kill the goddess. That's like what Mitsuru was doing, and Mitsuru did bad stuff. I'm not going to do the bad thing. Mitsuru should have been nice to people instead. The girl gets real mad and turns, of course, as we all saw, coming into Anba. Anba uses her tongue and eats Wataru. No fanfare. She's just like, oh, you won't kill him? Well,
yep.
No boss fight there.
Which sadly means no sexy lady comes out of her mouth.
Yes.
The game invented that part.
But now that he has all the gems, his sword has one final skill, which is Bigonate, and it grows hecka big and kills Omba dead from the inside out.
Let's be clear about how big we're talking about here. Okay, so it's like we're talking like the size of like a 10-story building. Like
it is fucking huge.
It is, and that's actually important because of what happens next. Right? It is absolutely enormous. Also, it is pointed downward for some reason. Which is, but yeah, it just it's good. She gets real dead.
And so the sword, being huge, starts falling down and destroying the tower as it falls. And while it's falling, Wataru looks out over all of Vision because he can see it, and he sees that it's full of life, both humanoid and animal. He's like, wow, Vision is a beautiful place. Then as he's falling, the goddess catches him and asks for his wish. He says that his wish, our wish, is to remove the demons from the land of Vision. And she says, you only get one wish. So if I remove the demons, you have to go back to your normal life. Is that what you want? And he's like, it's fine. Life is about happy and sad moments. So changing my destiny doesn't mean going and changing what already happened. It just means being in control of what happens next. And she's like, all right, you have passed the final test. I grant you this wish. Then the bigonated sword gets even bigger-nated, and it swoops over the entire world, killing all the demons and turning them into sakura blossoms. Then the big tree in the town earlier, whose name I already forgot, a tree turns into a sakura blossom too, which is really cute. So Wataru is falling to Earth, and you see Kikima and Mina running after him, and they're like, no, like, don't just give up on your wish. You already worked so hard. But he, of course, has already made his wish, so he himself poofs into sakura blossoms, and they fly off into the wind. Back in the real world, we see that Wataru is taking care of his mom and cooking for her. He leaves to go on the way to school, and him and Kachan are talking about the bullies. And Wataru is like, well, I bet Mitsuru could handle them. And Kachan is like, who's Mitsuru? But then Wataru bumps into a little girl. It's Aya. She apologizes and is like, big brother, come on, we're going to be late. And we see him and recognize him as Mitsuru. Wataru's eyes start to water, and we get credits. So I guess he could have two wishes after all. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
In the book, Mitsuru does not fare well. He is a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
But the movie Disneyfied it because the movie is for children.
Yeah.
And so they gave him a second chance at the end, and it doesn't rectify with any of the lore of any of the things.
Gotcha. I was curious about that. I found it kind of interesting because I really liked how tragic the story was, because it's just like, damn, like, this guy's parents and sister literally all just got fucking murdered in a horrible tragedy, and then he dies, and that's just it. Mm-hmm. And it sucks. And then Wataru is like, yeah, my mom and like my dad left, and my mom is gonna die, whatever. And then what really hits me is that he doesn't even get to see his friends. Like, he disappears without getting to say bye to them, which I found very sad. But I do think this is just my assumption. I don't think that his mom living was a weird cop out. What I think was that I mean,
No.
we didn't know that the mom was going to die to begin with. There was no indication that she was going to die.
Yeah, she wasn't a cop out, and actually, he's taking care of her. She was cooking for everyone at the very beginning, and he was cooking this this time.
That's true, yeah.
In the book, it goes into it. She tried to kill herself with the gas. She turned the gas on and stood over the stove.
Oh God!
And so she is sick forever because of that. And so he takes care of her now.
So he, his wish, of course, would have been for his dad to not leave. So he still had to suffer this tragedy, but his mom turned out okay, not due to any wishing. She just turned out, okay. She didn't die. And that just is the way it is. So yeah, so the only real cop out thing is that for some reason Mitsuru is back, and also it's like, the fact that the friend was like, the fact that Kachan was like, who's Mitsuru or what new kid? And they're like, oh, there's a new kid now. Almost like some kind of timey-wimey shenanigans. I don't even know. Maybe Mitsuru redeemed himself in the end. Also, at some point, someone does refer to Mitsuru as having already made his wish. Someone did that. That was referenced at some point in a quick line. So maybe like off screen before they fought Mitsuru, or somehow. So like maybe Wataru didn't get 2 wishes, but like Mitsuru got his wish, or something like that.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
So the book brings up some things that kind of make it make sense, because in the book he doesn't run directly into Mitsuru, but he brings up to Kachan, and Kachan is like, oh, he moved back home. He's not here anymore. So it's implied that he's alive, but Mitsuru is always had 2 traveler's marks, and it never brought it up. And then him talking to his sister right there at the end. Oh. There's also a thing in the book about there is a thing in the book about how to make the wish. Only one traveler can live; the other one has to die. And so the fan theory, because it doesn't go into it, is that Aya was also a traveler, and her wish was to save Mitsuru. And so Aya's not alive in the book, but Mitsuru does get to move on and save his life.
That's good. That's dope.
That's
this book
really
sounds like
good.
It's really good.
Yeah, that can't be what happened in the movie, because we see Aya as well. Yeah. So no idea, but that does lead directly into, since you brought timey-wimey shit, we're not going to play music. We're going straight into our memorable moments, because several things all aligned for me to have a weird relationship with this movie while I was watching it. So, as we mentioned, the one we all started watching was the fan translation, because I thought this didn't ever come out over here. I had never heard of it, and so we were watching the fan sub, and I noticed that it had a Warner DVD at the intro at the beginning, and I'm like, that's weird that Warner would just release it. Like, Warner is a very big company. Like, I could understand if ADV Films or something released just the subtitled version, but the fact that Warner did was weird. So I was looking it up, and there's totally a dub of it, and I was watching it with Scarlett, so I switched over to the dub and added the official subtitle track on instead of the fan translation. So the fan translation at the very beginning, like we said, says, "Aya, is that you? Oh, never mind. I guess it's still the first one." And then afterwards, I switched to the dub, and in the dub, Mona Marshall plays both Wataru and Mitsuru. So because of that first line being, oh, it's still the first one, and them being the same voice actor, I kept thinking there was going to be a twist about Mitsuru was sent back in time, having to try again, or even that Mitsuru was Wataru from the future. And so as the real story kept
theory about the game, actually, I thought that the bad guy in the game was going to end up being us from the future.
Yeah. And so as the real story kept unfolding, my time loop theory kept making no sense, but then Mitsuru survives at the end, and I was like, okay, well, maybe he was sent back and got a chance to do it right the second time. But then I went back to because I went back to the beginning to see what he had said about the this is still the first one, and what he actually says is, Aya, is that you? Of course it isn't. I've only gathered one gemstone. Why would it be you? It's still the first one. He meant the first gemstone.
I'm still only on my first gemstone. Yeah. That makes sense.
And so Japanese is a language about reading between the lines, and the fan sub did not do that. So the dub brought back in the context to make the line make more sense. But because of the fan sub plus Mona Marshall being both characters, I was like dialed into time travel plot until way too late in the movie. I already brought that one up a second ago. So a couple more fun things about the book that I found while I was trying to make my time travel theory make sense. The book is much darker than the movie. The movie is still a great adaptation of the book. It just is kind of a Disney adaptation of the book. The book has a Miki sort of character for Wataru that was like kidnapped and probably raped at the beginning. And it spends like 200 pages of the novel being in the real world before he goes to Vision at all, and showing all the horrible bad stuff in his life, including the fact that he had snuck out to go to the ghost house, which was brought up a little bit in the movie. So when his mom had turned on the gas to commit suicide, she was trying to kill her and Wataru, which is fucked.
Ooh, that's super fucked up.
Yeah. And so reading all of these bits and pieces, I think that the ideal way to make your way through this multimedia project is to do it the order that we did. So play the game,
I think I agree
then watch
with
the movie, then read the book, because the game, being a game, lets you hang out in the world a lot. So when you get to in the movie, they go to Della Rubessi and they just get a gemstone from there, and they don't say why or what they're doing. You just see them at this incredibly cool looking important place. But in the game, you know what it is. So
yeah, I will say the movie definitely probably would. If I were judging this only on if I were just to rate this movie based on only its own merits, I would probably not like rate it as highly, because I think if I hadn't played the game, a lot of it wouldn't have made as much sense. But I had played the game, so I got to fill in a lot of the gaps. So I really liked it.
Yeah, and so then you watch the movie to get what Wataru's side of things, and then you read the book to get the like full picture of everything. But those were all of my memorable moments. There were a lot of good lines during the movie, but I was too busy paying attention to it to write any of them down, which is always a good sign. But it was delightful. What about you guys?
Do you have any Eli? I only have like two.
I'm gonna be honest. I was working at the time, and so like I could only pay half attention to the movie. But like, I will say the really heavy shit was unexpected, but like in a good way, because I think that they did a really good job with it. Like they made it. It made the movie more realistic in a movie that is not meant to be realistic.
Yeah. It had a real groundedness to it.
It made the life parts. Yeah. It made the life parts feel more real. Like this is terrible shit that little kids have to go through because of their parents' problems, and it's awful, you know. And I mean, just the reality of that was really powerful.
And it was interesting. The movie had more of a show don't tell thing, where like you just kind of learned that these terrible things have happened, and like that they don't really talk about it. It just kind of is there. Whereas the game kind of does the opposite, because if you recall, who's the bad guy kid in the game? Ray has like a big speech where not only does he tell you what happened to him, but then he goes off on this speech about like how the world is dark and how adults treat kids like shit and stuff like that. And like that's what the stuff, that's what he's talking about. But it's neat that he's commenting on that as being a more overt theme. I have just two things basically, aside from things that I looped in with my descriptions. When we're talking about how all the trees were burned and so now they can't get any of that fruit, fun fact, that's a side quest in Brave Story to Traveler.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, there's a side quest where you're like, actually, I told you all about it. I just skipped over it. The side quest where the Dar Baba has Dar back my legis. When I said that you just go, I actually skipped over this because it was sort of a lengthy side quest. You go to the town and you're like, I need to get this fruit to save the Darba. And they're like, oh, you get this fruit from this forest. Oh, right, except a while back, a traveler burned down the entire forest. And it was a really cool, I was actually kind of shocked. It was a very weird sort of bit of world building that's just tucked away in this random side quest. Anyway, you end up having to get the fruit a different way. It turns out that someone managed to save a couple of seeds, so they're growing the fruits like in their garden or something like that. But yeah, so when that was in this movie, I was like, oh, that was. Now I know that was Ashikawa Mitsuru who did that. Which is funny because I'm like, wait, I talked to Mitsuru, and when I fell down in that cave, that was that guy. That guy did it. Fuck, what a bitch.
There were several times that I now am realizing that the game was being incredibly clever, where they would just say a sorcerer traveler did ABCXYZ, and in the game you're like, that darn Ray, he's such a bad guy, but it's actually a clever like. Because Tatsuya is seeing it through the lens where he doesn't know Mitsuru is a bad guy, so he's like, evil sorcerer traveler, it must be Rei doing a thing. And then in the movie we see that, oh no, Mitsuru did a lot of that too.
Oh yeah, and that actually really makes remember. If you remember when we played the game and had that weird little scene with Mitsuru, remember we were commenting on how Mitsuru's had a weird attitude and thought he was like super cool and was like aloof and chill, and we thought that was really interesting. But the thing is, in the game, Mitsuru never shows up again, so I personally had forgotten about that. But yeah, that actually is extremely in line with his personality here, right? You know, that's neat. The only other thing I have is there's a really I skipped over this, but there's a really sweet scene when Mitsuru and Wataru are sitting on the bench early on after he saves him from the bullies. They're drinking their cider, and there's this scene where Ashikawa sitting there drinking the cider, and then Wataru drinks his cider, and all of a sudden he's like, ah! And he like spits it out, and he's like, holy shit, it like really burns the inside of my mouth because I've got like a bunch of cuts in my mouth. Ashikawa was like, yeah, that's because those bullies really beat the shit out of you, dude. So that this acidic drink is cutting up your mouth. And then meanwhile, while he's saying that, Ashikawa is just drinking the hell out of it. And Wataru was like, does it not burn the inside of your mouth? And after taking a big old gulp, he looks at him and just says completely normal, he's like, oh no, it hurts like hell. And then he keeps on drinking. And then Wataru kind of looks at him, and then like he starts drinking his drink. It's yeah, again, Wataru very clearly like is totally like enamored by this slightly older, super cool, hot boy, and it's sweet, and he wants to be like him, so he wants to be cool, so he drinks his some kind of it's very interesting. The screenshot I have, all you can see is the word cider, but I forget what kind of cider. It was something very unusual, and I was like, oh, that's weird. Oh, also final thing,
it was cider, yeah.
Oh, also final thing, at the beginning when he's first leaving his house, he literally does the anime thing where the toast is hanging out of his mouth because he's late. Except here's the funny thing. He grabs the toast, and as the toast is dangling out of his mouth, he's like getting dressed and putting on his backpack, but his toast isn't buttered. So his mom grabs some butter and spreads the butter on the toast while it's hanging out of Wataru's mouth. She's like, hold on,
I remember that.
Put some butter on it.
It was really cute.
I managed to nab a screenshot of that because I thought it was real funny. That's it. That's all I got. Just really, really lovely movie. I would recommend y'all definitely watch it, even if you didn't play the game. Like one of the way better than I thought it would be. It's a real simple story, but it's got some fucking emotions, and the graphics and the music are fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. So speaking of things with great graphics and great music, next week we will be selling out hardcore. Yes. Not really hardcore, like medium level selling out and playing Tales of Symphonia for the Nintendo GameCube. And I am real excited to play it. I played it on the GameCube a bajillion years ago and did not get very far. And I then played it to completion right, like maybe a month before I met Summer. So it's been a long time for me, and I'm very excited to get back to it. This is the Final Fantasy VII of the Tales games. There were a whole bunch before it, but nobody cares. And when you talk about Tales, they're actually meaning the games from Symphonia to present, which is super cool. And I'm real excited to play it with you guys. I promised that I would look up where we were playing to, and I did not do that.
Man.
So let me do that and then edit this out.
FYI, I will probably be streaming it just because if any of y'all are into my streams, you'll know that I have not streamed since like January because life's been busy and I just haven't been able to get into the rhythm of it and really figure out what I'm doing and really sit down with it again. It kind of takes mental energy to stream. It's not like the most chill activity in the world, so I haven't really had the spoons for it. But I have to play this game anyway. Like I literally have to play it. That's already time I got to spend. So
crack that whip.
So I figure I might as well stream it. So yeah, I'll be streaming this one. So I haven't set that up or anything, but just FYI, just tune in. I guess I'll be doing that the next week. So welcome back me to streaming, and and I'm playing the PS3 version, by the way.
Yeah. I will also be playing the PS3 version, and I think that's the version that makes the Steam version, which is what Eli will be playing.
I'm always the one who tries to play the OG version, and I do have my beautiful new Trinitron, but unfortunately the GameCube version is really expensive, and because it's a GameCube, you can't like burn a disc of it. So rip, I won't be able to play the GameCube version. Sorry.
Dang. But so I don't know if the game itself has 8 chapters, but this guide breaks it up into 8 chapters, and 8 is a good number of episodes. So we will be playing to completing the Asa Trail, which is before we get to the fishing town of Izoold. So you'll know you've gone too far if you make it to Izoold. You'll know you've not gone far enough if you are still doing things in Asa Trail. So that's where we will stop. It is after the Triet Ruins, which is where you unlock the first seal, which is a big story beat. So
cool. Seems pretty easy. Fishing town. If I get to the fishing town, I stop playing.
Yep. And so we'll do that next week and sell out. And if you would like to vote on the game we play after Tales of Symphonia, you can do that by supporting us on our website at www.rpgbook.club. And all supporters will have access to a poll for the best of the rest game, and you'll be able to choose from let's see if I can do this in order. Final Fantasy X-2, Breath of Fire 4, Anacronox, or Hexyz Force.
Oh yeah.
2 of the often talked about as best RPGs, and 2 of the never spoken about RPGs. those are the ones you get to choose from. So while you're there, after you support to vote in the poll, you can also check out our side series, Book Club no Kiseki, where me, Matt, and Bernard are making our way through the entire Kiseki series. And you can also purchase merch there, where I promised last episode, and I forgot that I promised it last episode, but there will soon be a Legend of Dragoon text box t-shirt that includes the word bitchin'. So look forward to that. But that does it for the week. So for RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
I'm bitchin'. I mean, Maddy Grace Weber.
Toodaloo, folks.
Bitchin'.
Bye, dorks.
Sorry.
Oh, Christ. That was disgusting.